What's going on, beautiful people? We are back again with another Mental Max Out podcast. I'm your host, Akeem Robinson. And for those of you joining us for the first time, thanks for checking it out. Mental Max Out is all about helping people change their perspectives, think differently, and get out of the hole. If you're back again, I celebrate your willingness to continue growing and challenging your mind. Remember, if you like what you hear today, make sure you hit that subscribe button or whatever platform you're listening from. Share it with a friend and follow us on social media at Mental Max Out Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? We're back at it again in the living room. We loved it the first time, so we're actually doing it again, and we got some actually good compliments about it. So, we're trying some different things, and we have no idea how content creators do it, but I applaud them. I applaud them.
When we first started this podcast idea, I told Akeem, I want it to feel like we're just having a conversation in the living room. And for the longest time, we couldn't figure out why it didn't feel that way. And as it turns out, it's because we weren't in the living room. So
we had to go back to basics.
Back to the basics.
And put us in the living room.
If we wanted it to feel like we're on the couch having a conversation in the living room, we had to be on the couch in the living room. So that's where we are right now. So if you're a visitor at the Robinsons' house at any point in time, you may experience this because it is what it is and we don't care.
Don't care. Long hair from you, bald head by me, but don't care.
We are hoping that in this week 2 of the new year that everyone is still going because Quitter's Day is approaching.
Yes.
And, if you're thinking this week, I'm done with my resolution, I just want to encourage you and say, you know what? Don't be done. Because you're almost halfway through the month and you're doing great, and don't let Friday be a day of doom.
Dang, let that sink in for a second. You are almost halfway through the month of January, and already people are quitting on things that can change their lives. Quitting on things that can impact the next 11 months and the other years to come in the second week of the new year.
And it's like, I get it, right? Change is hard and resolutions are hard, and it's really challenging to stick with something for a long time, to try something new, to try something different. And Akeem and I were talking this week because I asked him, I said, why is it that we just tend as people to struggle with change? Like, why is change such like a challenging concept, even though it can help us?
Well, change is so hard because you have to be willing to step out your comfort zone. That's what you would say if you were in front of an auditorium full of people giving a TED Talk. But the real thing about change is it sucks. It's always uncomfortable, and it takes you so long because you have to be consistent. But here's the kicker. What is the consistency? What does that look like? And to me, when I always think about change, you're always going to struggle with it because it's almost like baking. You don't know the right ingredients yet to be consistent to do it for a long duration of time. You see what I'm saying? Like, for example, people always say the dreaded D word, dieting.
Yeah.
If you go on a diet, you don't know what your body needs in order to go through the whole day. So in order for you to be consistent, you might have to do a couple of different things instead of just saying, I'm going to cut out all these things. That might sound good, but you still don't have the energy to get you throughout the day. So you're going to have to tinker around with some other things in order to know what I need. And that is what helps people be consistent.
I think what's really challenging is the concept that we are constantly the ones changing. So if I flip that script on you I tell you, okay, I get it, right? We as people have to adapt to change. But in reality, we as people are the ones changing. So instead of us adapting to change, the things that we're doing, if we're looking at it completely wrong, the things that we're doing have to adapt to us. Because we're constantly growing. We're a different person today than we were yesterday, than we were 2 days ago. So like what worked for us 6 months ago may not work for us now. And what worked for us 5 years ago may not work for us now. But we're looking at it saying, things just keep changing. No, you keep changing.
Ooh, come on. And that's the thing we forget, right? The groceries at the store, all those things that we need and the things that we want, they're going to still remain the same, but you are going to be different. Your thoughts are going to be different. Your body's going to be different. Your relationship, even if you've been with the same person, is going to be different. And that's the thing that I think we forget when it comes to change is you or the people you're around are changing whether you want them to or not. And you have to be okay with understanding that and then having the willingness to adjust to meet that change head on.
Okay, so you've heard of the love languages.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
okay, so your love languages are your words of affirmation, quality time, acts of service, receiving gifts, and physical touch, right? Okay, so when Akeem and I first started dating, I took the little quiz as, you know, a single 20-something, and I was like, this is what I need to feel love. And my love language was words of affirmation.
Yeah.
And I had this realization recently that at 22 years old, my love language was words of affirmation because of my own insecurities.
Yep.
Like I had insecurities about my appearance, about my body, about how I looked, that when somebody complimented me and gave me that affirmation, I felt better about myself because I didn't have that confidence.
Yeah.
Well, fast forward, I'm, now dating Akeem. I'm telling him, hey, my love language is words of affirmation. And he's like, oh, I just like that. I don't.
Oh.
Okay. That's something I'm going to have to work on.
Yeah, that's
because
cool.
he was not the compliment giver. Not that he was bad, but that was just not at the forefront of his mind back then.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Now he compliments over the top all the time, pouring out of the faucet in compliments that I have become so accustomed to it. Not to say I take it for granted, not to say stop, but it's something that I've become so accustomed to. And over the last several years, his words of affirmation and my own growth has caused me to not necessarily seek validation in that anymore. And so my love language has changed. And now my love language is quality time because I have found ways to affirm myself throughout my growth journey. And I think we're all like that. We change, and it's important that we recognize the fact that we're changing because we're going to have different needs. Different things are going to help us. Different things are going to support us as we grow and change. We can't look back and say, oh man, yeah, like I love those shoes that I wore when I was 7. Well, they don't fit you anymore. You're an adult.
The big Nike swoosh on
Exactly. And so it's like things that fit us before may not fit us anymore.
Oh, come on. Okay, I'm gonna try to smoothen this thing out a little bit. When people talk about love languages, I think that's one of the things you're gonna hear for like the rest of your life. I don't care what stage of life you're in. When people say love language, we put it in this box to say my love language is quality time. So I then think to myself, the only person that can compliment me has to give me quality time in order for me to feel the love that I deserve and I need. That's not correct. Because the real fact of the matter is that's a small part. And I think we get so caught up into that love language concept. It's almost like saying you only use 10% of your brain. That's been debunked. You use your whole brain. When you're driving, you're focused, but you can still have a conversation. You're thinking, but you're still paying attention and doing multiple things at once. And love languages are the same. You might prefer quality time, but that's not going to take away from the fact that you still want some words of affirmation from your partner.
And gifts.
But I think we get so caught up into thinking, what is my love language? And this is what it has to be from 0 to 100. And that's not the case. Because even like you said, I was words of affirmation. Now I give them to you so much. But can you imagine if you knew somebody was words of affirmation and then you gave it to them so much, you're like, I think that's good. I think I'm going to stop for the rest of our lives. That wouldn't fly for you.
No.
Like, no, that wouldn't fly. And that's
No.
the thing. Like, when we talk about change, it's the same thing. You know you need to change, but in changing, it's not this 0 to 100 kind of thing. It's not this, oh, I need to change my habits in order to be healthier. I'm going to wake up tomorrow and be doing something completely different. No. You still might like a snack. You still might like to enjoy some of the things that you like to eat. but can you cook them differently?
I feel like when we talk about how we change as people, it's almost retrospective all the time. Like, think about that. You don't realize that you don't realize that you've changed until the change has happened. It's hard to recognize that in real time. Very rarely are we sitting here saying, I'm changing. We truly, truly, truly don't realize it until after the fact. Wow, I really grew, over the summer. Or wow, I really, over this period of time, I really learned a lot in this season of my life. And that really changed me. That shaped me, right? We always say that. What thing in your life shaped you or made you who you are? And I think because it's so retrospective, it's hard to make adjustments in real time. So a lot of times we're going through this incredible process of growth and change and things like that, but we can't truly evaluate it until we're in a reflection period. So if we're looking at how we can be supported or how we can, do things better, right? We always say that. How could we have done that better? Well, we wouldn't know. So how do you, in the process of change, be present in understanding, hey, I think I'm different now, and I think I don't need that anymore.
So I love how you said that. How do we recognize change? Change is a thing that is constantly happening, but the only times we recognize change is when there's a rule. Anniversary, happy anniversary. Now I can look back. Happy birthday. Now I can look back. Here's your yearly evaluation. Now I can look back. In order for you to recognize the change and be more present within it, you have to break the rule. So instead of waiting for these deadlines, these timelines in your life, you have to say, hold on, a month ago, am I still doing the same things? You're not waiting for something special to happen to evaluate. You're just checking yourself next month.
So you're saying instead of waiting till December 31st to be like, wow, what an incredible year, you're saying we have to check in with ourselves more frequently.
Correct. You have to be willing to break the rules because the rules state you only can reflect when something big happens.
Who wrote these rules?
That's the thing. Who wrote these rules? Like, why do you have to wait for a full year to go by and be like, man, 5 years of a relationship, that's so cool. No, let's just talk about it today. Let's just talk about it today and say, like what you said to me a couple days ago, are you happy?
Oh my gosh. Oh my. Okay. Listen. Okay. You've heard us talk about it before, the importance of checking in with people, right? Checking in with the people that you love. And so we're sitting on the couch the other day, canoodling, snuggling. Serena's currently in a phase right now where if I hug Akeem for longer than 3 seconds, she is running from across the room like she is a security guard.
Top flight security.
And is like, get off of him.
Every time.
And I mean, says no, swipes at my leg, and is like, no. And like,
every time.
Until I move, she's like, Mom, get away from my dad. So, we were sitting there on the couch and, we were holding hands. Serena was down for a nap. It was a lovely moment. I was really enjoying my quality time, physical touch, positive affirmation, all the things, right? And I asked him, I said, are you happy? Instantly, he was like fight or flight mode because he was like, why? Why are you asking? Is something wrong? Do I seem unhappy to you? Did I say something? Did I do something? And I was like, no. I don't ever want to get to a point where I just assume because everything's hunky-dory and we're, sitting here having a great conversation and, we've had a good week. I don't ever want to assume that means that you're happy because, again, a lot of things can kind of fly under the rug if we do that. And he was like, oh, well, okay, I appreciate that. And that's actually really cool. This isn't a trick question.
But in that, you broke the rules. You didn't wait for our anniversary a full year to go by, something bad to be like, are you happy? No, it's on my mind. I just want to check in with my partner. I just want to ask them this like deep but loving question. You don't have to put change in a box, but you have to be willing to break its rules. And the only way you can break its rules is somebody has to step out of the boundaries that it set. Don't wait for these deadlines, these moments where you're supposed to then reflect and have these intellectual conversations. It can just be today. Hey, are you happy? And I don't mean that in a way that I'm trying to hurt you, scare you, but I just want to check in with you. And once you said it that way, I was like, oh, yeah, I am happy. I'm extremely tired. I'm just trying to figure it out. The next 2 days, you were like, hey, tell you what, you get some rest. You chill out. I'll take Serena. Guess what? My happiness meter skyrocketed like a stock price, right? Ooh. Because you were willing to step out of those boundaries and ask. And that gave you the information you needed to be like, okay, he is happy, but something can be adjusted. Something can be made different to help him out through this time.
It scares people to have to make an adjustment because you like your system, you like your routine, you like the things that you like and your hobbies and all of those types of things, that when you know that you need to change something in your life because you're changing, that's intimidating. And I'm not talking about like divorce and like big crazy things. Like I'm talking about like, take me for example, right? This summer I had so much fun going on runs. And then I was like, meh.
Cool.
Yeah, it's cool, but it didn't really fit in my kind of daily routine. Once the fall kind of hit, work kind of picked up, just different things happened, and I didn't like going on runs as much. So I didn't train the same, and I kind of missed that endorphin release from going on these runs. Well, now it's 44 degrees, and I sure as heck am not going on any runs. And I realized, I liked the sweatiness of the humid, hot, 103-degree running this summer. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Change when you're changing and you realize one day you wake up and all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to do that anymore. That's cool. That's great. But then the next question is, okay, so what do you want to do? Mm-hmm. And that ish is scary.
No question is it scary. Like you need to have the conversation with yourself to say, do I still enjoy that? Yes or no. Why do you enjoy that? Well, because of blah, blah, blah. Does it provide these things? Like those are legit questions you have to ask yourself. And then you have to really sit down and say, I need to bring this to the table to my partner because I noticed this change happening. And here's the one thing that I think people forget. When change happens, it will come out. I think people don't understand that.
You can't just hide it.
Yeah, you cannot fake it. When change happens, you can't fake it. You cannot hide it. It will come out. And that's the thing. I think people believe they notice when they change and they're just like, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. I'm just going to kind of do this and sweep it under the rug. But guess what? Your partner will notice.
Your family will notice.
They will notice, and it will come up because you're not saying something the same. You don't look the same. The energy isn't matching. And to you, it's fine. But to them, something's off. And so in most situations, because people don't like difficult conversations, guess what they do? They go with it.
I don't like difficult conversations.
And they go with it. And that's the thing. Because they go with it, guess what? Now everybody goes into this tension, this awkwardness. Because most of the time, when we change things, it's because we lost something. You know what I'm saying? Or this happened a couple years ago, and I loved when it did happen. But you know what? Now I'm going to change. That was made in your mind, but your partner is expecting the person of the past. And you don't bring it up to them. And guess what they do? They realize it and they say, that's different. And they just let it go. And so now you got years upon years of two people that made an adjustment. One was willing and the other one was not. And sometimes resentment comes up.
I think it takes a lot of self-awareness to recognize and accept change in your own life, because that kind of goes under the umbrella of like take responsibility and, get to know yourself and grow and do your eat, pray, love thing, whatever it might be, right? When you have other people in your life to account for, and I don't mean just like significant other. I mean significant other, children, coworkers, friends, parents, family members, neighbors, all these kinds of people in your life, and you're changing and you are aware, but there are people who are not changing alongside of you.
Yep.
Or not necessarily recognizing that this change is good, right?
Yep.
You always hear like stories about friendships or people, we just kind of drifted apart.
Yeah.
Or we just kind of fell out of touch, right?
Yeah.
But that's because somebody grew in a direction and somebody else grew in another direction, and that's okay. It doesn't mean there's not still love and respect and admiration and just, love for that person, but people don't always accept or want to be involved when you're changing.
Yeah, and so y'all want the real stuff. So we're going to give you the real stuff. let's go families. In families, change happens instantly when people have children. Because when people have children, guess what they do? They say, I'm going to do everything for my children. So the change has already happened. And sometimes both of the adults make that change and say, we're going to pour everything into our kids. So now your kids get the first plate. Your kids get the first signs of affection. They get all of this. And then the other person gets left with the scraps. That is the first sign of change that people don't recognize, is that, hey, I love my kids. We love our children, but we have to make sure we're good. Mm-hmm. We have to make sure we're still pouring into each other. When you think about relationships, friendships, they always end with ship. Your actions and who you're becoming, is it helping the ship stay afloat or is it sinking the ship? And no, I'm serious. Because everything I do, I always try to make sure always staying afloat. Because I can pour into Serena. I can give everything in my power to Serena. But guess what? The ship will sink because you won't be okay. The ship will sink because you will feel neglected emotionally, with affection, all those things. So the ship will sink, even though my intentions are good and Serena is being cared for. Our family dynamic and our relationship as a husband and wife will cause the ship to sink. So you always have to ask yourself, my actions and how and who I'm becoming, is that helping us stay afloat or is that causing the ship to sink? Because once you can ask yourself that legitimate question, you then have to then say, okay, I need to put in the actions to help us stay afloat. And that might be a conversation. That might be recognizing that, oh, I am shifting and becoming someone new. So I need to now let my partner know I enjoyed that part of our lives. I enjoyed that in the past, but this is now different. Can we talk about it? And guess what? Those are difficult conversations and they might be off put to it. But if you come at it with a love and you come at it with a place of like, I want us to continue to keep growing, you'll be surprised most of the time how your partner receives that information and they're willing to be like, okay, different, but let's make the adjustment. Let's see what we can do to stay afloat.
So you're saying it's week 3 of the new year. It's almost Quitters Friday. You just got to stay afloat.
You just got to stay afloat.
Just keep floating.
Yeah, just keep floating, because I'm telling you, if you can look at your partner and say, I believe we can do this, but I'm changing or you're changing, let's have a conversation about it.
And if you can be honest with yourself at this stage in the year, hopefully whatever it is that you decided that you wanted to conquer, hopefully if it was a resolution, a goal, a benchmark, something you were trying to upgrade your grade, not try to have C work in, then hopefully you can keep it afloat.
And that will impact the rest of your life.
We hope you have a wonderful week. We hope that you tune in next week with us again on Tuesday mornings.
We love you guys. Keep tuning in. Tell a friend.
Thank you for joining us on this exciting episode of Mental Max Out. We hope today's discussion has empowered you with the insights and tools to overcome the challenges of depression, fear, and doubt. Always remember that you have a support system on this journey, and every step you take is a step forward towards victory. If you found this episode helpful, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review. We greatly appreciate your feedback, as it allows us to continually provide you with the content that is most valuable to you. Stay connected with us on Instagram at Mental Max Out Podcast for a constant source of motivation, helpful advice, and a supportive community. Until the next time, keep pushing forward, and remember, you have the strength within you to max out your potential. Take care and stay strong.